So we have a single surgery suction motor here and a single surgery compressor, just purely for example purposes. Chances are you're not going to see anything as neat and tidy as this in your plant room. So when you go out there, just be aware of any trip hazards, any danger you might have. If you've got boxes stored around the equipment, move it out of the way so you can get at this equipment cleanly. So the first thing to do with your compressor is to isolate it electrically from the supply, which we have done. You will then, on your compressor, see that you have a gauge. The gauge will indicate that you've got pressure in the system if the compressor's been switched on. And then what we're going to do is drain down the air out of the system. In this case, we have a small valve here. When you open it, don't open it fully, open it a small bit at a time. And the reason for that is air coming out under pressure from a pipe will make a lot of noise. If there is a little bit of pipe on here as well, just be careful it doesn't whip around, because again, it tends to flap around all over the place. So allow the unit to drain down. We actually have on this system, we have an air dryer. A lot of compressors have different versions of air dryers now. This air dryer has an indicator on the top which can tell you the amount of moisture in the air. The purpose of these machines is to make sure that there's not an awful lot of moisture in the tank. If you don't have an air dryer on your system, you will have been draining the tank fairly often, and you will know that you'll get quite a bit of moisture out of your drain pipe. Even with an air dryer on it, you can sometimes get a small amount of moisture. When you go to restart your surgery, if you have an air dryer on, you might find that the compressor takes a couple of hours to settle down. It might keep switching off and on, off and on. And the reason for that is the air dryers are trying to ensure that the air that's gone into the tank has the right amount of moisture in it, or not too high an amount of moisture in. This particular unit will keep running. What will happen is it'll get to pressure, the unit will switch off. The air dryer will then allow a certain amount of air to leak out the bottom of the tank. It's monitoring the moisture that's in that air. If the moisture is okay, it'll stop. If not, it will keep cycling through full pressure, release, until the moisture in the tank gets to the correct level. It also has an indicator on the top. If it's correct, it's blue. If it's incorrect, then it's pink. Other machines don't have the indicators on them, but they will cycle the same way to make sure that they don't have too much moisture in the tank. That's about all you really have to do with that. Just remember, when you start up, if the machine keeps running off and on, then give it a couple of hours and see what happens. I think you'll find everything will settle down then. For the suction, just a simple example, we're using a Durr VSA 300, very popular in the Irish market. A lot of them in a single surgery suction system. We have some pipes on it just to show what it's likely to look like when you get there, rather than just having a blank machine. As part of your chair maintenance and shutdown, you'll have run a lot of cleaning solution through this. There's not a need to do any other cleaning on the inside of the unit, apart from, in this case, the amalgam pot. When you're using a Durr suction system, it's important that you use the Durr Oricup to make sure the right air moisture mixture goes through the tank. If all you do is dunk a hose into a bucket of water, it'll pull a slug of water through and it'll swamp the machine. You'll lose suction, and over a period of time you'll get a smell from the unit because moisture will have gone past the separator into the sound deadening boxes, and you'll get a smell every time you switch the unit on. The maintenance on these machines that you need to carry, the only maintenance really you need to carry out on these machines is, the large pipe is your inlet pipe. That comes from your chairs. It has a filter on it, whether it's this version or whether it's a bigger Durr system or whether it's a Catani system, they'll all have an inlet filter. Take that filter out, give it a clean, lubricate the O-rings as required and as recommended by the manufacturer, and put the filter back in place and reconnect your hose. The small pipe here is our outlet hose. There's nothing you really need to do with that apart from take it off, lubricate the O-ring and put it back into position again. The important part to remember on this is that it has an amalgam separator on it, and if you've had a period of time you're used to changing the amalgam separator pot, but if you're going to a period of shutdown, make sure you do it. The problem that you have with the amalgam waste is not the amalgam paste itself, it's the vapor that's given off by it over a period of time. If you have a suction motor that's just sitting there over a period of time, the moisture that's in the tank will actually just dry out and you'll just have the paste evaporating away. So the important thing to do is hand in, drop the pot straight down, don't try pulling it out, drop it straight on the ground, take the old pot away, seal it as you normally do for disposal of hazardous waste, and then get your new pot. Again, don't try forcing it in, slide it on the ground in underneath the unit, up into position, and lock it in. There is a level switch that hangs down from the bottom of the motor. If you try to jam the pot in, you'll break that off and the unit won't run correctly. That is about all you really have to do on a single surgery suction motor. On any of the suction motors, make sure the inlet filters are clean, make sure any amalgam pots are actually emptied. Anyone who has one of the large amalgam pots, the passive pots, there's not an awful lot you can do about them apart from seal pipes. And most people won't have the caps to do that, but just remember that they are part of the waste system. Most important thing at the end then, once you've finished all this, is just to make sure it's electrically isolated, whether it's done from the plug or whether it's done as part of the surgery shutdown, that you have a central switch, just make sure it's isolated. Once you've done those things, your plant room should be ready to go once you come back in again. Remember, of course, you'll have to go back out and plug everything in. So don't panic if you go in and nothing's working. Just go through your reverse procedures you've done as part of your shutdown and make sure you've got everything plugged in. And if you have any problems, we're here to give us a call.